All right, round 4 starting up. We have a fan favorite, Chris, the Squish Dagner, lining up Zurgo Bellstriker again. We see him. We said he's a staple of the meta here in Eau Claire. If you're coming to play at this store, you better expect to see Zurgo.
Most definitely. It sounds like there's 3 Zurgo decks out there today.
Woo! And my personal favorite over on the other side, the Gitrog Monster. I am not as familiar with the 1v1 lists. I have it built in Dual Commander, so I have a few of the tutors that we will not be seeing here today. But Gitrog Monster is one of my favorite decks. Dakmore Salvage, I think, is a great interaction. Hard to stop, hard to kind of take care of.
And I would wager this deck probably runs very similar to the Dual Commander version as well, just
Right.
minus the tutors and fast mana.
Tutors, yeah, we're going to be missing Demonic, Vampiric, Sylvan Library, I believe, is banned as well too now, correct, in Duel?
Yes. But there's still a few options. There's Elder Evolution, there's I believe Natural Order is legal.
Yep.
So the more expensive tutors are all allowed.
Yeah, plenty of options still at the player's disposal to try and assemble the combo.
They have settled mulligans here.
This is going to be, I mean, this could easily be another fast match as well.
Yes.
I mean, the Zurgo deck isn't slow, and neither is Gitrog.
Look at this, I even have my deck. Misty?
That's a Misty, yep.
Can I see that? Is that, or a cavern? Or is that the cavern that you can play out of your hand when it's not your turn with the luck counter?
And I think a Vexing Devils from Chris coming down turn
Yeah.
one.
Oh, he's taking the 4. Yeah.
Smart. It was a fetch land.
Okay, beautiful. Gonna bring out the basic just in case Blood Moon is anywhere in sight.
And I would wager there is one in that deck. Knowing Chris.
Most likely, there's probably one. But I think Chris has a huge advantage, like we see with Zurgo all throughout the day. He's gonna get the early beats in, and Gitrog really needs some time to establish a board presence before he can really build up a defense.
And most of those cards that Gitrog is going to be playing are going to be mana dorks, mana elves. Being all in on combo, if that's what this deck is, you're going to want to create that fast mana to get down something like an Ad Nauseam. Once Gitrog resolves an Ad Nauseam, it's very hard to beat at that point.
Swamp.
Discard card.
I cannot tell what that card is. Discard a card or
Discard a
Raven's
card.
Crime, I believe.
Right on. Go ahead.
We're gonna see Mr. Zurgo coming down now.
2 mana. Welcome to play, Mr. Zurgo. Oh, and there's a friend, Monastery Swift Spear,
Oh, that's rough.
coming in.
So hopefully Tyler gets some dorks or something down here because you don't want to absorb those beats for very long.
There's a Lotus Cobra.
There we go.
Trigger.
Sure.
Cryptolithrites.
Without delirium, so you get to go for land?
Nope.
Traverse?
Yes.
Traverse the Uvenwald? For a land or for a creature? Does he have Delirium?
Does not.
Yeah, I believe he only's got a couple cards
2
there.
sorceries and a land.
Yeah, so he's just going to get the swamp.
I'm going to guess Lotus Cobra is not going to be blocking next turn because he's going to want that mana to get Gitrog on the field.
Absolutely. You want to have your engine. If a well-tuned car needs his engine.
That's a really tough creature for Chris to remove in that deck as well.
6 toughness. It's going to eat 2 burn spells. It's going to at least 2 for 1. Would Chris consider firing off something on the Lotus Cobra just to take out that effect? Get a Swift Spear trigger maybe? If you got a bolt at this point, cut off that extra mana.
I think you'd have to at this point. Let's see what he does.
Although, yeah, because otherwise next turn if he drops a land, that's enough to get him on the field.
Yep.
Appreciate your counter on that. Enter the battlefield, that creature can't block this turn.
Okay.
Oh, it's the new
2, 4, 5.
red creature from Amonkhet with haste, I think.
Is that the extra combat phase?
Earth
Celebrate? No.
Earthshaker Kenra
Yes.
is creature can't block with power less than or equal to Earthshaker Kenra.
It's a great target for a Lotus Cobra.
Won't be getting in the way then.
Nope.
Doesn't look like he's got anything at instant speed to pump the Swift Spirit although, unless we see a late trick here.
Well, no, I think Tyler is, it's Tyler's turn now.
Oh,
Chris
beautiful.
got in there for some damage.
Oh, down to 19. Yep,
Yep.
you betcha.
Sure. I will discard Fiery Temper. Upon
Another
discard,
discard
I'll pay
spell?
first
Now leave
Gonna Fiery Temper, gonna madness out Fiery Temper. Look at this. Chris with the 1-up next, leveling your opponent. Make me discard? What's that? Madness, Fiery Temper. Oh, perfect. I love seeing that. On camera. Gotcha!
But I believe there should be a counter on that Lotus Cobra, correct? Because a land did come into play this turn.
Yes.
Does that place a counter that just creates another
Well,
mana?
yeah, it puts a mana in your mana pool,
You're
I
right.
believe. So even though there's only 4 lands showing, he technically has 5 mana available.
One, two, three, 4. Crucible. Paying 4 for it? Alright, I mean, whatever you want, bud. Drains from your mana pool. Trying to get that engine going.
I think it might just be too late, though.
You're already down to 16. Playing a Crucible is not... I mean, if you had some type of creature or something, that's a tough one.
I mean, it could be very easily over this
And
turn.
there's a Hazoret.
Go to
This
combat.
red deck will close out quick, too. The one that...
Chris is able to swing with Hazoret, too. That's the best.
Being heck bent, he'll get in there for a big hit. I think Lotus Cobra's got to jump in front of something here to save yourself the life. Because what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coming in. Hazoret's got 4 power, correct?
I think so.
Although with the
see
Crucible,
a-
he can get a land back and definitely play Gitrog next turn, but...
Prime time is also in his hand, but I don't know what you would seek out that would let you live, because even a land like a Radiant Fountain or something, that doesn't really save you. That's only 2 life.
Is Glacial Chasm would be the only really thing to go for, so you can buy yourself some turns.
He's thinking about it. He's trying to plan out his next turn to see what he can and can't do with the Lotus Cobra. He does have a fetch land in the graveyard that he'll be able to play, so he does have access. And I mean, he might be just dead either way. There might be no proper decision here in this instance.
What I would imagine he's thinking about is that fetch land is going to get him 2 mana off the Lotus Cobra and not just 1.
Right.
Because you'll play the Fetch Kraken, put a land in play, the double landfall triggers will generate 2 mana off the Cobra. So
Well, one when Misty comes into play.
Yep.
One when the
land he
other
fetches.
land comes into play. Yep.
Oh,
Yes, he's got to do it.
Yeah.
So
It's a much more difficult choice in that case when it's 2 mana on the board versus
Wow, my
1.
math is
only
off.
takes
Good thing you're
5
doing that up
damage
there.
then. Let's see.
Go
4,
ahead.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got 9, so he potentially has 2 more turns with what's on the board. Was that a Dark Ritual was the draw?
Looks like.
yep.
Yeah, so there's that mana.
So look, I can't see what the creature is in hand, but I see
Prime
another.
time.
Is that prime? Oh, there's prime time for sure. Yeah. So you can definitely drop a body, and that body will kill something, so that'll buy him a turn. In theory.
Primetime also gets lands? Or does they go
Yep,
to hand?
tutors up 2 lands and places them on the battlefield. Tapped, I believe.
You can't cast Primetime right now.
Well, Dark Ritual, he'd have to ritual it. Yep. And then I'm not sure if this is going to be enough though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Primetime.
Tutor up 2 lands.
So he needs to survive until the next turn is where his money play is.
Even then, you're still short a discard outlet and Dakmor salvage for the combo twin at instant speed. So what would you tutor up in this situation? I'm trying to think of what would save you in this instance. A Radiant Fountain, is that what he's looking at? Maybe you could possibly get something like what's the 1/1? A Dryad Arbor to a chump block,
Yeah.
possibly, might be an option here.
But is that going to come into play tapped?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a blocker until next
Yeah.
turn. So that probably wouldn't matter in the long run here. I think at this point he's trying to look through all his options, but nothing's gonna save you, bud.
There is an older land that comes into play and drops a 0/1 sapperling into play when it comes in, but the odds of him running that
Some
in the deck,
deep tech. What is that, a Dark Depths, I think? I don't think Dark Depths. Maybe he's just hoping that Chris has a heart attack and
Yeah,
doesn't
maybe, yeah.
can't turn his creature sideways. Otherwise,
Tabernacle. I'll do some work here if you drop that.
What would it take to win? I don't think any sequencing of lands can win, even if you hit with Dark Depths, even if for some reason you had like
And that's what he's doing.
like a Mirage Mirror, a Thespian Stage and a Dark Depths, yep. I don't think that long term really helps you. I think you're going to be dead before a turn too soon.
He can block one, so he just has to hope Chris has no tricks or no haste in hand.
Yeah, Chris looks like has one card in hand there, sitting on the table.
Yep.
And I mean, he could get lucky. That entirely is possible here as well. If that's a land in hand and then he top decks something that isn't useful.
Well, you can also discard those cards to Hazaret.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that Chris pretty much has them locked up here. I think the combination between the attack and then instant speed discard to Hazaret, if Chris basically untaps here, I think it's over. Because Prime Time is going to block Hazaret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well,
Takes 5, puts you down to 6, and then you got 1 activation, so
we have 4.
4. So he's basically got one more turn.
That could also just be a burn spell in his hand, and that'll pump the Monastery Swift Spear up.
Yeah.
And then he'll still be heck bent to swing with Hazaret.
Yep.
Knowing how I know Chris builds burn, that's a good chance that's a burn spell.
Tyler's just been off just one step this entire game.
And it was a decent start even for him. I mean, he's got the combo next turn, right?
Right.
I mean, but Gitrog in the 1v1 format can be just a touch slow when you don't have those quick tutors.
Yep.
And he's even hypothetically, let's say he kind of stabilizes here. It's still pretty tough without having any sort of combo stuff. I mean, he's got the Thespian Stage combo, but
Is that a Vesuva? Yep.
all right, he's gonna untap.
What did he copy with the Vesuva?
Those are 2 playable spells.
May I see what Dark Depths turn to?
Sounds like Chris is doing some math here. Looking at Dark Depths again.
It doesn't flip, Chris. It's a token. He's checking out the back of Dark. Oh, the Westville Abbey. You know.
I've made that mistake myself before.
Yeah. Never on camera though, right?
Never on camera.
Where we have 3 people watching him that can really judge him. You know, give him the proper crap he deserves for doing it.
I told him if he lost this match, he's off the podcast.
There you go. Playing for your life, Chris.
We're trying to motivate him.
Yeah.
Light a little fire under
Well, it
him.
seems to have worked so far.
Yeah, he's sitting pretty decent. If we had an advantage bar, it would be pretty
Yes.
far into his pretty far to his side here. I'm down to 11. One blocker currently.
He's taking his time, though. He's thinking this through.
I think Chris is just trying to do the math.
Yeah, you got a sequence here. I mean, 2 potentially. If you're looking at burn, is prime time a 5/5 or a 6/6? Do we know?
I think a 5/5, but I have not seen it in a while.
Yeah, because
Banned
depending,
in
you
our
might be able
commander.
to. You might be able to burn him right now, so that no matter what he blocks, he's dead. That way, no matter, because he's got a blocker, he's dead, right? And so if you put
It's
a Coom, is that a Coom?
Landfall,
One of those
pay 2
Akuma.
colorless and a red, and I can create a 3/1 token.
And primetime is a 6/6.
6/6.
Um,
So if you could potentially put 4 points of burn onto him right now, no matter what creature it would block, it would be dead then.
Yep.
going to combat.
Okay.
So here we go, going to combat. That's where this red deck makes a living. Swinging him sideways. Oh, come on. Get him in. There we go.
that slap of that card.
I
in
know.
That play mat is so nice.
I could hear it through the wall.
So the whole team is swinging in. At least the ones that can.
Alright, so he's going to try and take up the least amount of damage here. Drop down to 6. Creatures bounce off of each other, and we'll pass the turn.
But now things get rough.
I don't think he has lethal this turn, though. I mean,
He can definitely drop a Merit Age token, I believe, correct?
Yeah, 1/20/20 though.
that doesn't...
You can't even attack. You're still sitting there with only 2 blockers, and you got Hazard activations up. I mean, drawing a card now is like drawing a shock, so...
Right.
A very expensive shock, but a shock nonetheless.
At this point in the game, you'll take what you get.
And pretty much just turning them sideways and activating Hazard is
Yeah.
going to win you the game at this point, I think, unless you are able to play... I don't know what these Gitrog decks would have that would put basically multiple bodies on the board. He's got a tutor. He's got
Diabolic in hand.
yeah, so that's 4 mana.
It's 10.
Okay. I was gonna
Tutor
say.
4, you can copy.
I was like, I didn't think it was quite that many.
I mean, a Black Sun Zenith set to 2 would be pretty
Apparently Dark
decent,
Depths
but
starts at
I'm
55
betting
counters
he's not
now.
running that.
I
had
I
2
saw
fives
this
on
deck
there,
earlier
one
in the
seven.
tournament, and I did see him when he was searching through his library. I think I saw Toxic
Right.
Deluge.
Deluge is
But-
such a
but-
good card, but it's really risky at 6 life.
6 life.
You
I mean,
kill
he draws,
yourself.
Yeah. If you can't take care of Hazaret, then
Right.
I mean, you're just going to lose to the activations.
And to
Well,
kill
even in
Hazard, you put
response-
yourself so low.
You'll put yourself at 2 and you activate Hazaret. Because Chris does have 1 card in hand.
Yeah, Deluge is not an option, I don't think.
No, not at all.
And I would bet he's not running Black Sun Zenith. Any full board wipe he casts or gets, even if he goes for, like, say, a Damnation or something,
Hazaret sticks around.
Hazard fights through it, and he's in the same problem he was in. His options are few and far between here.
Yeah, especially when you're kind of cut on mana. How many 3 black sources he's got right now? And if you're tutor, you're going to use up 2 of them, so what can you cast for 1 black? You gotta, I guess if you play your fetch out of your graveyard, go and fetch an Overgrown Tomb or a Bayou, if you got a Bayou still kicking around. Get 2 black sources, you could play Vraska's Contempt doesn't really help you here. What other Black Exile? You'd have to play some sort of Black Exile effect.
Yep.
Deluge would be 1, 2, 3, 4. You could play Deluge, but you'd have to pay 4 life, put you down to 2, but you would kill everything, and then you would just hope that he doesn't draw anything for the next 2 to 3 turns. I mean, at this point, that might be your line of play. You know, you might
Right.
be so far up the creek that you just got a Deluge, go to 2, and hope he whiffs. And we already know that. He's got at least 1 non-land spell in his hand, Chris does.
Well, Hazaret locks out a lot of lines of play at this point. You know, Dismember is a pretty great card and pops up in a lot of these lists, and it renders Dismember unplayable at this point because you take your life total down to the range where Hazaret kills you.
Yep. And what would you even dismember at this point?
Well, even
Yeah,
Because it's only -2, or is it
5?
-5?
yeah. So you can take out Hazaret, but to get your life total, unless you spend the black mana,
And you would have to pay with the tutor, you'd have to pay at least 2
Right.
life, so that puts you down to 4. You take out Hazaret. He still has 4 creatures on your 1.
yep.
You're probably still not.
Just such a strong card Hazaret is.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely leveraging it here in this matchup. One card that I have liked, that I have decided to put into my Gitrog deck from Dominaria, is the new tutor that finds, it's 3 a black, that finds a card, puts it in your hand, finds a card, puts it into your graveyard. That's perfect. Find my discard outlet, find my Dakmor salvage, bam, bam, bam. There, it's a all-in-one tutor piece, basically, for 5 mana. And with the amount of ramp that you play, 5 mana, you know, turn 3, usually not bad. You have your discard outlet, you have your Dakmor salvage in your graveyard. You can dredge it back to your hand on your next turn, you know what I mean? I love that. I think that'll be a great card in these Gitrog decks that some of them aren't necessarily running at this point.
I just put that card into a Teysa or Zav Scion deck for the same reason. I have a lot of graveyard creatures, whether it's Reassembling Skeleton or Brooded Cockroaches type things, where I can go grab the card I want, dump the creature in the graveyard, and then just bring it back.
Mm-hmm. Definitely some being able to tutor 2 cards with the 1 is very powerful. And putting it into the graveyard, we look at Mox Diamond, that's one correct where you discard the land when it comes into play. At one point, that was a negative. Now,
Right.
with the card pool nowadays that we have, that's almost a positive. For me in my Gitrog deck, once you start comboing off and you draw your entire deck, you can play it, get Dakmor Salvage triggers. You can do that early on.
Mm-hmm.
Brings back the Misty. Going down to 5 for that Misty.
Which we all kind of assumed he was going to have to do.
Yep.
Maybe he's done the math and 6 isn't a lot different than 5 here. He could just have 7 damage, you know what I mean, on the board. So if 6 and 5 don't matter a whole lot, maybe you need something here. Bayou?
There it is.
Yep, there it is.
Kind of figured he'd have to get the Bayou now, so he had multiple black sources and a painless land.
I was waiting to see the white border pop up, and there it was.
Oh, yep. Don't want to shuffle your hand in your deck, Tyler.
And Squish is just waiting to see what happens.
It's going to be very hard to survive this turn. Toxic Deluge is one of the only things you'd have to go down to 1 at this point. But he fetched double black, so I'm guessing we're going to be seeing something that requires the tutor, and then double black again.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I see 4 black sources now. 1, and then this next pile is 2, 3, 4.
3 basics in the Bayou, yep.
Yep.
And maybe the Vesuva is a basic swamp for all we know.
Yeah, for all we know, it definitely could be. Yep, so there's that. He did tap 2 other black sources.
So far he's just playing out the things we've talked about over the course of the last several minutes.
Yeah. Ooh, Pernicious Deed? Not really. Has that destroy, right?
Destroy.
It takes another turn because he's not going to be able to play it and
Activate?
activate it.
Duress? Or what's that?
Duress is just ammo for Chris. Sure, take the cards out of my hand. That's perfect.
Squandered resources for more mana. What are you playing with all that mana?
Well, he only has 1 other card
Play
in his hand.
your Gitrog and sacrifice a bunch of lands for a bunch of draw triggers, but what are you going to draw? There it is. Is that Deluge? Or is that Bile Blight?
I think that was Deluge. Bile Blight would be good, though, too.
Bile Blight probably doesn't seem playing Chimera because that's the share a name one,
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't think so.
So
Aside from taking on a Token Swarm.
And -3/-3 is enough to do it against Hazoret. So I don't think that would be a card. So it'd almost have to be Deluge going down to 1 and then hoping his hand is unplayable.
Well, he can dash Zurgo in.
Yeah, that's... you can't attack with Prime Time then, right? You gotta leave Prime Time back here.
Yep.
You basically just can't.
There's a Damnation he's eyeballing.
That doesn't... Well, that doesn't do it either. He'll be able to just sit back behind Hazoret and discard cards and activate his ability. He's only...
And he can bring Zurgo back in.
Yep.
So Chris has 2 lines of play on him.
So at most, even with the Damnation, it's 2 turn clock at the minimum with the current
I didn't see
board
what
setup.
did anybody see what he grabbed?
I think he grabbed the Deluge. We'll see. Shuffling up.
Paying 4 for Deluge, I think, would be
The best line.
to get you out of that. Yeah, they're your highest upside line. Because he's got 1 card in hand. It's not a land, though, because he missed his land drop. So it's not a land.
Yep.
He's got some action spell in his hand.
Unless he's holding the land back.
1, 2, 3. There it is. Deluge.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4. Yep. So Deluge down to 1.
Tapped out then?
Yes.
Kill some stuff. Scoops, scoops, scoops. All right, all right.
I feel like Chris is probably okay sitting at.
Right, 4 mana.
I mean, he top decks an answer.
He's got so many.
Even if he doesn't have it in hand, he's got a pretty good chance of top decking an answer.
He's got 2 turns. Yep, there
Yep.
it is. All right, beautiful. Finishes it off.
I can't even see what that is. Is that a
a
lightning?
Maltony. And then he's sitting there with the Maltony
I thought it
and
was just
Gitrog
revealing
side,
it
but
right then and there, but I was like,
he
I'll
was.
play as I should play.
Tyler would have been a turn or 2 away
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
assembling his combo there off of prime time, and
Losing the Lotus Cobra hurt him, but it also saved him an extra turn.
He was just he was responding the entire game to Chris, and that's
Not where you want to
that's
be.
not a good way to play.
as a proactive combo deck, it's hard
Right.
because you can't sit there and answer. And these red decks are so fast that you
Yep.
need the answers. You need fatal, a fatal push. You need, a couple. Even a fatal push isn't enough.
We
We see
made a
these
misplay, and I'll
mono red
point out
decks
to you.
play
I don't know
in
if it was
the
purposeful.
two-headed giant
When you play
games,
the
and they're
stupid shit,
fairly
it's
resilient at
definitely-
times, depending on their draws. They have quite a bit of cards that they can pile back up pretty quick, go wide if they want. So Fear Vortex to push you on a quick clock, stuff like that. That's very disruptive, especially against this deck. I mean,
That's
a
how
Blood
Jordan
Moon would have
works in
been
Legacy.
Done.
pretty solid.
Because they crop rotation for Vesuva.
As
play
these
Vesuva,
players
and
shuffle
then
back
usually
up,
have 20,
we got
25
another
picks.
Zurgo player advancing here.
I've always heard it the other way, where this comes into
Looks
play,
like
as it comes into play.
we got 5 rounds,
So,
correct?
Yep.
So we'll have one more and then a cut to top 8. We'll have to take a
Yeah, it's
quick
something to look
glance
up
around the
on
room
this
and see what we're dealing with
Exactly.
for commanders left out there.
I
But
will put
definitely
my-
seeing a few Zurgos at the
meditation
table.
on like I'm
We're going to
100%
go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back
That's the only way I
very
would-
soon with more commander action. Round 5 coming up before top 8.
Just so that you had more options.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. Then we basically